to replacing these bushings. So if you need to press out your existing bushing out of this front lower forward control arm and replace it with something like M3 version. This is the M3 bushing, and well, like I was trying to explain before, you have to compress it and close this gap here. So I'm using this T-bolt clamp. The gap is almost gone. So, well, let's see. We shall see. But that's what you have to do. And then, well, before pressing this in, you have to get the existing bushing out. So this is a press, and that's the device to use. So I'm sporting the control arm with these metal blocks that came with the press, and the top of it is basically a pusher. You kind of need to either machine or find something that is a proper diameter. Well, we shall see how this goes, because I don't think this is the one that I need to be using, but we'll see in a minute or so. And basically then you just start pushing the existing bushing out, and it comes out fairly easy. Well, yeah, it's a little bit too small of a diameter, so I really have to keep going, but makes me feel stranded. Let's see if this will actually help. And you cannot, the problem is you cannot really be pushing against the rubber, so I don't really have a choice at this point. Well, it's going. And it bottoms out. So we need to... Well, that's not much left, so what else? I can probably just... use this. Yeah, it's good. Coming out now. Things are going to go flying. That is what I was talking about. But okay, so this is it's actually a new bushing. It's a Meyle HD, as far as I can tell. It says somewhere here. But well, this is a perfectly good bushing, but I'm not using this because I'm replacing this bushing with this bushing. This is M3, like I said, and well, that's how this one comes out. And now it's time to press this one in. To do that, this thing unfortunately doesn't have a chamfer, which is not cool, but that's okay. So we set this up. Our compressed bushing kind of lines up like so. Now we have to have means of pushing it, and at this point I have to push against the outer ring of this bushing. Well, actually to start you don't really have to. Well, let's do the press. You can start with something flat like this. Like this. Basically, just you just have to do a good job lining things up. This should work. Well, what's important at this point is the new bushing should start. as you can see, it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to start. It's kind of, it's trying to go in crooked, so that's no fun. Shouldn't be happening. Oh, it does have a chamfer on the other side. Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong. There we go. That's stupid me. So now this has to be like this. There we go. I'm not even using the handle. This arm has a chamfer on one side that helps to start. And as you can see, as you guys can see, it started. So now I have to finish pushing it in, and at this point I think I can remove the clamp. I chewed up this a little bit, but that's okay. Let's see if we can remove our clamp. Yep, at this point I don't need this. This stays closed. Well, I will clean this up a little bit. So again, now we have to have some freedom for the bushing to come out on the bottom somewhat. I have to space this. I mean, I could have moved the press up and down. I'm just too lazy, I guess, at this point. Okay, so at this point I have to push the bushing in so much that it centers in the control arm. Yeah, something like this. I think it is. I think it is centered good. And that's basically it. And that's the M3 bushing pressed in into the front forward lower control arm. And this is the in your case this may be a used Hydra bearing, or if it's this is an HD Meyle HD. It doesn't have any hydraulics or any fluid inside of it. Standard bushings have some fluid in them. M3 is just, these are like that. And if you're replacing this, would be your, if you're replacing this bushing, this would be your used bushing. It comes out, and you press in either a new bushing like this or an M3, whatever you go with. That's pretty much it for this job. That's the difference. Although, like I said, this is an HD, so it's still good enough for most people. M3 bushings are even less freedom of movement than these, so there you go. Here's how you replace these bushings. The front lower forward control arm, so it has a ball joint on this end, there's a bushing on this end, and I'm replacing this, well, I have an aftermarket solution to basically a ball joint, and I'm replacing that with a regular, well, this is an L3 bushing. So if you have regular bushings here and they were out, or you have a worn out bushing and you're replacing it with the same regular one or an M3 upgrade, or you have an M3 core and you're just replacing the bushing, that's basically how you do it. The first thing that you do, you have to press out the old bushing out of the control arm, and I'm going to use this press. It's always nice to have a press to do this kind of a job part. The next step, so the first step is to press out the old bushing or whatever you have in the control arm. The step number 2 is going to be press in your new bushing, And I guess I'm going to mention this right away. In order to press this in, this bushing is, well, it's this kind of a split design. So to press it in or to start the bushing into the control arm, you have to collapse it. You have to kind of close this gap. So I'm using a T-bolt clamp. These work very well. You can apply a lot of torque with these clamps. If you have something like a screw, type of a worm screw type of a clamp, that would barely do much to a bushing like this. So let's get this bushing out, and I have this cup basically, so I don't want to press against the center of the bushing, like in this case, or against the ball joint itself. I want to be pushing against the solid metal. That's what this allows me to do, and I'm going to support this with well, a couple of aluminum blocks, so you don't really well, I don't have any properly dimensioned cups, because for some reason so basically that's what it looks like. There is the press. This is just spacers, and I'm going to be pressing against this center bushing. Well, let's call it a bushing in this case, and I'm supporting the control arm on the outside of the bushing, so it has enough room to just slide out. Ooh. Well, this is not good. Yeah. Well, this was not a successful exercise. So I guess, yeah, this was not fun. I guess I pressed it in really good. Maybe I should just get a replacement control arm. Not bother, because that was really violent. Well, let's try again and do this properly, I guess. Yeah, it's not going. Well, I have nothing to lose at this point. Yeah, it's a no-go. It's a no-go. Way too tight. I have to buy a new control arm. Well, that's a fail. So I guess I'll just get a replacement control arm and be done with it. Yeah, that's way too tight. That's some good retaining fluid. Yeah, not happening. Unfortunately, that's a fail. So what have we learned today? Well, we learned today that retaining fluid, if used, works really well. And yeah, that's all that we learned today. And I destroyed this bushing. Well, piece of scrap. It feels funny here. So maybe it's maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. Well, this is it for now. Thanks for watching. Another fail.